paper, and you take an idea to the topics that each federal agency puts out, and you look for funding. What's interesting is for Phase 2, if the program managers for this SBIR program are interested in your technology, they will invite you back for a sole source for a Phase 2 award, which is now $750,000. And again, this year with Congress reauthorizing the program, could potentially be going up to $2 million. And this is funding to develop a prototype. That's really what the program does. It gears you to develop a prototype. I wish I could tell you for Phase 3, for full-scale commercialization, there is additional federal funding out there. It's limited. They are looking at additional programs. But I guess my point on this slide is if you are a small business under 500 employees with VC ownership of under 49%, this is a program you should take a look at in terms of funding to help augment your R&D budget. Federal funding incentive opportunities with the federal government, the Energy Department's loan guarantee program. I think you've heard about this to an extent today. The comment I guess I would make is, and I think you're all aware of it, this program has been dragging out, for lack of a better term. It's been taking some time for these loan guarantees to be processed. A couple points I would make. Part of that process in terms of it being dragged out is because of the amount of loan guarantees that they're going through, and they didn't have enough folks trained in terms of going through this process in terms of review. I wish I could give you a date in terms of when it would be streamlined. I would say to you that it is getting better. If any of you are going through the federal loan guarantee process today, if you haven't, I would definitely reach out to your congressional folks, let them know where you are. And I would say that the Secretary of Energy plus Congress are paying attention to this, and they are trying to get it back on track in terms of a timely manner. Federal funding incentive opportunities, the federal government in terms of congressional appropriations and earmarks. I bring this up just to give you guys a sense of what all is out there. And just as a definition, an earmark is a narrow appropriation of federal dollars for a project that a member of Congress places in the legislation that funds a federal agency. So these projects are basically geared by the members of Congress who write these projects right into the appropriation bills that fund a federal agency. A couple points I'd make: the dollar amounts vary. Also, not all members of Congress are created equally. More powerful members of Congress have a better opportunity to secure an earmark. Last point I would make, too, is working with groups such as SEMI, think in terms of earmarks as one part of it. The overall budget, Joanne went through her budget earlier today. I think this group working collectively could do a lot in terms of getting that budget overall plussed up in terms of more funding. And I think that's something that SEMI's been working on and will continue to look at in the future. Those projects are out there in terms of earmarks. Again, it's competitive, and it really depends on who your member of Congress is in terms of who you're asking. Funding incentives for state and local government. First point I'd make on here is a website. It's a database that the Department of Energy was instrumental in help creating, and it's called DISRI, and this is a great database to take a look at, which will basically outline for you each state in terms of what they offer up in terms of incentive programs. Specifically, this website will give you a lot of detail on workforce development, a lot of detail on tax incentives. Should note, too, in terms of tax incentives, usually each state, a thumbnail here, it's about 10 years in terms of what you can get in terms of a tax incentive in terms of constructing a new facility. Grants we'll touch on in a minute. County government industrial development authority organizations, depending on where you're located in terms of your manufacturing facility, county governments can help you with bonding authority. Again, it depends on where you're looking to go. If you're looking to expand in your existing structure, you definitely should work with the county folks as well as the state folks. State pension funds, a number of states in terms of their state pension funds. This is the state pension fund that basically provides pensions for state and local government employees. A number of states are working with their comptrollers to have renewable energy companies reviewed by specific portfolio managers for the state pension fund. So this is another area where they can help you get in to meet with folks in terms of investments. They can't guarantee it, but they can definitely help you get in to vet the project. Last point on this, and then we'll get into each one, is the topic of already in the state versus moving into the state. For a lot of you here, if you're already at a location and you're looking to build onto the location, there's going to be certain incentives there for you. For others that might be here who are looking to site a location throughout the United States, I think there's going to be even a larger opportunity for you. So I think again in terms of job retention and growth. If you're creating jobs or if you're retaining jobs, a lot of that has to do if you're already located within the state or if you're actually building from the ground up in terms of moving into a state. I wanted to give a sense just in terms of some of the tax credits, and I think you'll see this across the board for a number of different states in terms of the packages that states will put together for you. Investment tax credits, real property tax abatement, working with the local elected officials, research and development tax credits, technology tax credits. I think a lot of states can offer tax incentives for companies. I think the next slide, in terms of grants, this is where it gets a little different. I think there's a number of states out there that do have grants available, smaller dollar grants. Each state does have, their version of their Department of Energy in terms of helping technology grow within the state. Other states, though, actually take it a little bit further. In terms of when you look at their annual legislative process that funds the state budget, they actually do provide in the capital section of the state budget projects in terms of providing large incentive grants for companies that construct and outfit large, expensive manufacturing facilities that employ lots of people. By this, though, in terms of your state, it really depends on what they do or what they don't do. A couple states that come to mind, New Mexico, Michigan, New York State, Texas, they have very successful programs where they actually write projects in one way or another into the state budget in terms of an incentive package for a company to locate. Not every state has the ability to do this based on their budget situation and based on what they're offering to provide. But this is where the big money is. If you're building a $300 million facility, it's going to employ 500 people over 4 years. It's very feasible to get tens of millions of dollars in a grant incentive from a state. Large grants are awarded when you create many jobs and create new in-state industries. I think that's pretty simple. I'm a consultant, for lack of a better term, a lobbyist who helps companies. But I can tell you this, that every company that has a large project, a $300 million, $100 million project that creates hundreds of high-tech, clean energy jobs, there is no reason why you shouldn't be meeting with the governor of that state in terms of selling your project. They're that interested in the technology. How do you maximize the grant amount offered by a state government? Couple of points here to make. States can potentially assist with upwards of about 20% or more of the funding needed to construct and outfit a manufacturing facility. Again, this is what they can do. Question is, can you sell them on why they should do it? Couple of points I think that are important. Have term sheets or commitments for the needed non-state funding with you when you approach the state for your incentive. I think a lot of companies think that they'll go to the state, they'll go to the governor's economic development office, ask them for some type of a commitment, and then we'll take it to the private equity community in terms of the remaining funding. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think a lot of the states kind of get it and are pretty smart about this process, and the pile of companies coming in with no private sector funding is pretty high. The pile of companies coming in with commitments or near term sheets is actually a little bit lower. That's the pile that you want to be in. That's the pile that they're going to look at a little bit more in a little bit more detail. I think, too, states will look at multi-year incentive packages and provide incentives incrementally as employment objectives are met. So you go in and you talk to the governor's folks about your $200 million facility. They're going to give you $20 million over 3 years for the build-out. They're not going to hand you a check. What they are going to do is, over a 2-year period, look at your employment goals that you've mapped out. As you hire the people that you've mapped out, that's when the incentive would be released. So it's not the money, unfortunately, coming up front. It's the money incrementally being released to you as the project criteria are developed and the objectives are met. Some states are also introducing companies to state pension investment funds. I think we talked on that a little bit earlier. I think that is an area, though, when you look at specific states, think of the size of their pension funds. Some states are bigger than others. And I think a lot of states are starting to help, again, tech companies in this arena. That's really it. I think a quick overview for you. There's a lot of areas here, but I think the last point I make is if you're not asking, you should ask. If you're in state already or if you're looking to move into a state, the government's excited about clean tech, and if it's not you, it will be someone else that you read about in terms of securing an incentive. Thank you.